Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Niteesh Shukla from ITTAC, Indian Tyre Technical Advisory Committee, India. Firstly, at the outset, I am thankful to Mr. Peram Prasad Rao for this given opportunity to talk on recent trends in regulations and standards for the tyre industry. In today's talk, I will be covering the global scenario on the tyre performance regulation. What is the prevailing scenario on the standard for the OEM tires and the aftermarket tires in India? And from these regulations, what are the evolving impact on the tire industry, mainly pertaining to the role of the raw materials, and any regulation cannot be effectively implemented unless until the adequate test infrastructure is created in a country. Lastly, briefly, I will be discussing on the circular economy, green mobility in the context of India. If you see the global issues and the challenges and how these issues, environmental challenges, global warming, and the legislation and the regulation, how they are going to act as a bridge between the global warming, our environmental challenges, and the sustainability. In the last one decade, we understand that the requirements from the tire has evolved tremendously. OEMs, end users, they are now fully aware on the performance-based requirements of the tire. Of course, the credit goes to the implemented performance-based regulations in Europe and other parts of the world. If you see the global scenario on the tire performance regulation, so the journey had started with the Europe. Europe was the first continent and the country where the tire performance regulation was implemented under the EC regulation number 1/222/2009, which covers the three characteristics of the tire: rolling resistance, wet grip, and the pass by noise. The journey Europe started almost 8 to 10 years back before the implementation of the first stage in the Europe in November 2012. So Europe took almost 8 to 10 years to understand these three characteristics of the tire on all the three segments: passenger car, commercial vehicle, and light commercial vehicle. In the Europe, under EC regulation 1/222/2009, the allowed certification is the self, and the minimum requirements for these three properties, rolling resistance, wet grip, and the rolling sound, has been given. Stage 1 implementation in November 2012 has the tires on all the three characteristics are graded on the basis of the values. For example, for the rolling resistance, the grading starts with A and goes up to E. After getting a positive response and the feedback on the first stage implementation in the Europe, the second stage with the severe and more stringent condition on all the three properties, the second stage was implemented in November 2016. This is the level design which has got evolved from the stage 2 to the next upcoming amendment in that regulation, EC 1/222/2009, which has come into force from May 1st, 2021. And the key changes which have come, if you see the level design, now it has the energy efficiency logo, QR code, by which The complete information on that, the label marked on the tire can be obtained. Product ID code and two additional properties has got included from that the initial label design. The ice grip index and the snow grip index values. So now this new label design has come into force from May 1, 2021. In this presentation, I am not giving the details of what are the permissible limits are there in stage 1 and stage 2, but those who are interested, they can revert back to us, and we can share you that the existing range for those three characteristics in both stage 1 and stage 2. Like Europe, the other part of the world, Japan was the second country where the voluntary implementation was in place from year 2010. And in Japan, the labeling program, only the two characteristics, rolling resistance and the wet grip of the tires are covered, and the future minimum requirements for the wet grip. As we know that wet grip, which is nothing but the braking resistance of a tire, it is directly linked with the rolling resistance. So if any manufacturer keep on reducing the RR, there is a compromise on the wet grip. So manufacturer has to have the balance between the rolling resistance and the wet grip properties of a tire. In the Japan, unlike Europe, you can see their label design is completely different. They have given the label design for the rolling resistance like AAA, AA, and single A. AAA means the highest fuel efficient tire, followed by AA and the single A. Similarly, wet grip A, B, C, or D. If you say small a, it means the tire is going to have the best wet grip characteristics and other properties. Of course, India was also not untouched after the review of the EC regulation and the implemented labeling program in the Europe. Indian authorities, Indian regulatory bodies also started working on the formulation of a standard to cover these three characteristics for the performance evaluation of the tire, rolling resistance, wet grip, and the pass by noise. And with the panel AISC, this standard AIS 142 was formulated based on the ECR 1117 requirement. In India, while formulating this standard, we in ITTAC had analyzed numbers of the data for the rolling resistance to arrive at India-specific rolling resistance coefficient limits. Based on the data analyzed by ITTAC, it was presented before the AISC tire panel, and accordingly the India-specific limit for RRC was finalized and was put in the standard AIS 142. During this formulation of this standard, since in India the test infrastructure was not available and manufacturer also does not have the facility, so AISC panel decided to keep the limit for pass by noise and wet grip as per ECR 117. AIS 142 covers the limits for both properties, rolling resistance coefficient and the pass by noise, keeping the minimum requirement of the wet grip in two stages, stage 1 and stage 2. Needless to say, stage 2 is more stringent than stage 1. After formulating the standard AIS 142 in year 2019, Ministry of Road Transport Highways, Government of India issued a gazette notification for the mandatory evaluation of the tires for these three characteristics: rolling resistance, wet grip, and the pass by noise. The date of implementation was 1st October 2021 for new designs of Tyre and 1st October 2022 for the existing designs of the Tyre. The issued notification by Ministry of Road Transport Highways Government of India has directly considered stage 2 limits of AIS 142, and this notification covers the requirement for the three segment of tire C1, C2 and C3. This notification was issued on 17th May 2021 and 30 days were given to submit the comment, objections, suggestions on this draft notification. ITTAC had comprehensively reviewed this notification and then has submitted its response to the department. Based on the received response, comments, input from the various stakeholders, Ministry of Road Transport Highways is reworking on the implementation as well as the scope of AIS 142. The official communication on the final notification is still awaited on AIS 142. Since AIS 142 covers the requirement for the OE tires, in India, parallelly, one more government agency known as Bureau of Energy Efficiency, they had launched the program Star Rating of Tires under the Standard and Labeling Program on Tires, which is applicable for the aftermarket tires or the replacement tires. With the various round of the discussion and the deliberations by PCRA, BEE in presence of the various stakeholders, ITTAC, test agencies, CM members, standard and labeling program for the tires was established, and just 2 months back, Bureau of Energy Efficiency has launched the star rating program on the tires. The launch programs is applicable under the voluntary period for 1 year. Here the tires have to be rated for the fuel economy on the basis of their rolling resistance coefficient limits as specified in AIS 142. Tires to comply with AIS 142 wet grip limits. And this standard and labeling program launched by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency covers the leg down requirement for C1, C2 and C3 tires for the replacement market. The challenges for the effective implementation of these two regulations, AIS 142 and the labeling program for the tires in India, is the adequate test infrastructure and the correlation establishment. Unlike Europe and the other part of the world, since India has first time introduced, so test agencies, they are also working hard to get created the adequate test infrastructure followed by the establishment of the correlation. We are expecting in the next couple of months, minimum 3 test agencies are likely to be ready for getting the tire tested as per AIS 142, also for the labeling requirement. The proposed tire label design by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the colleagues and my friends from the India, they must be aware about this label design, which is present on the electrical appliances like air conditioner and the refrigerator. The similar label design has been proposed by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency on the tires as well. And the key properties which need to be present are marked on this label design is listed over here. So each tire has to be given the rated value of the rolling resistance coefficient. Then the star rating based on the value of the rolling resistance coefficient in that bandwidth what is given in AIS 142. So 5-star means the having the lowest value of the rolling resistance coefficient and the highest fuel efficient tire. This level design is also going to have the tire size, the model, and the brand, and the level period. So far in the Schedule 30, which talks about this the launch program by BE, the validity period for the level is 1 year. The challenges which already I had told you, the challenges on the implementation of AIS 142 and the star rating program in India is the generation of the wet grip and the pass by invoice test for Indian conditions. As I told you that while formulating the AIS 142 standard, India had not adequate test infrastructure for the wet grip and pass by invoice. That's why AIC Tyre panel considered the limits as per ECR 117. We in ITTAC have been continuously approaching to the authorities, government bodies, stating that India need to generate the data for the considering the Indian road condition, and then the limits should be proposed in that respective standards. Of course, these regulations are going to play a key role on the performance evaluation of the tire. And Indian tire industry, who have made a huge investment on their R&D, on their expansion, are very much ready to produce the tire meeting the international quality requirements. And these three properties, rolling resistance, wet grip, and the sound emissions, how the raw materials are going to play a key role to have the balance on these three properties. We all know that the magic triangle for a tire performance. So these three properties, rolling resistance, wear resistance, and the wet grip. The tire tread component plays the key role, or rather I would say that the major contributor for both rolling resistance and the wet traction. So the research and development is being done by the tire manufacturer that how to have a balance on these two properties. R&D is also going on how we can enhance the area of this magic triangle. So on the raw material side, of course, the existing materials, so a lot of the improvement or the new materials are coming into the market to achieve the desired these three properties, rolling resistance, wet grip, and the wear resistance. On both the filler side and the raw materials, they are contributing a lot to have the balance or to enhance the area of this magic triangle. From the raw material side, what are the expectations from the tire? As I told you that the requirement from the OEMs, from the end users is very much clear. So the requirement for the low rolling resistance value, lower weight. Globally, people are talking about the low footprint. So once we try to produce a low weight vehicle, needless to say that the tire also need to be of lower weight. So these challenges can be only met with the quality of the raw materials. Some specific requirement is also there from the OE side for the good ride and the handling. And lastly, but not the least one, Indian customer, they always look for a durable tire. Keeping these regulations in the mind and the import value in India DGFT and the Ministry of Commerce Industry, after working out the import value, new Indian standards are being formulated for the testing and certification of the raw materials. And if I could name few, that is polybutadiene rubber. We know that one of the key rubber for this performance-based properties like rolling resistance and wet grip, carbon black, and recycled rubber as well. So these are the latest development on the standard and the certification part on the raw materials as well. This is the summary of the regulatory challenges being faced or to be faced by the Indian tire industry. Starting with AIS 142, which already I have covered, that the draft notification talks about 1st October 2021 for the new design and 1st October 2022 for the existing designs of the tire. But post the receipt of the suggestions, objections from the various stakeholders, MORTH department is revisiting, reworking on the implementation timeline. On the tire labeling part, the last program has got in force from 14 December 2001 under the voluntary period for 1 year, and this category is falling under the performance. In India, for the T-type temporary use spare tire, February 2021, one safety standard IS has been already in place. So each and every T-type temporary use spare tire to be fitted on a OE vehicle or in the replacement market, the tire has to be tested and certified as per the amended IS standard. For vehicle wheel rims, the quality control order has been issued effective from 1st April 2022. The axle load increase from 6 ton to 7 ton is effective from July 2018. And the TPMS requirement for the M1 and N1 category of the vehicles manufactured after 1st October 2020, that is also implemented under the safety category. We understand that these upcoming regulatory requirements demand technology upgradation, adequate test infrastructure, and availability of the consistent and the quality raw materials. The latest development in India is the circular economy in the tire and the rubber recycling industry. I would like to inform you all that in India, the recycling industry, retrading industries are the most unorganized sectors. To make it organized, the concerned department, Ministry of Environment, Forest and the Climate Change decided to come up with the regulation on EPR for waste tire, extended producer responsibility. After the several round of the discussion and deliberation on a high power constituted committee under the chairmanship of the Additional Secretary from Ministry of Environment, Forest and the Climate Change, the committee could arrive to propose a model where ITTAC had played a key role by providing all the necessary inputs, sharing the data on the important survey done by the ITTAC on the end-life tire, with a survey into the 28 cities. Based on all those receipts input from the ITTAC and the other stakeholders in the country, Ministry of Environment, Forest and the Climate Change issued the draft gadget notification and regulation and extended producer responsibility for waste tire, dated 31st December 2021. The proposed date of enforcement is financial year 22-23 in the issued draft gadget notification. In the APR regime, tire manufacturer, importers, and the recyclers are the party to that as per the issued notification. The key points are which going to affect the tire industry is that the EPR certificate need to be purchased from a authorized recyclers by the tire producer against the sale of the tires in a particular financial year. EPR obligation to be met against the given waste tire recycling target in the 4 years. So EPR obligation for the waste tire recycling target is given, and the tire producer has to meet that. Of course, considering the average life and the wear and tear allowance of the different segment of the tire. Central Pollution Control Board under the same ministry, Ministry of Environment, Forest and the Climate Change, they are working on the formulation of a policy guideline on EPR for the waste tire. ITTAC is one of the stakeholder in giving the inputs in the formulation of this policy and the guideline for EPR. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was all about the emerging trends in regulation and standards for the tire industry. I thank you all for your kind attention. For any queries, you may revert back to us at the provided email ID, directed as ittac@atmaindia.org in itac@atmaindia.org. Thank you so much for your patience hearing. Thank you.